The Discovery. High Admiral Zex Toral of the Galactic Council stood on the observation deck of the Eternal Vigilance, the Council's flagship, gazing out at the vast expanse of stars. For over 3 centuries, the Council had maintained peace across known space, an achievement that had solidified the 13 founding species as the undisputed leaders of civilization. High Admiral, we're receiving an urgent transmission from exploration vessel Distant Horizon, announced his communications officer, a slender Viridian whose skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. They've discovered something in the Forbidden Sector. Zex Toral's 4 eyes narrowed. The Forbidden Sector was a region of space that had been placed under permanent quarantine after the Cleansing War. No vessel was permitted to enter without explicit Council authorization. "Put it through," he ordered. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Captain Kel Mora, a seasoned Arcturian explorer known for her methodical approach. Her usual composed demeanor was conspicuously absent. "High Admiral," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "We were charting the gravitational anomalies at the edge of the Forbidden Sector when our sensors detected a massive object drifting at the boundary. It's a ship, sir, a human warship." Zex Toral felt his heart skip a beat. Humans, a name that hadn't been spoken in council chambers for centuries. "That's impossible," he said, his voice steady despite his inner turmoil. "The humans were eradicated during the Cleansing War. Their technological threat was neutralized." "I understand, sir, but there's no mistake. It's a Terran Dreadnought-class vessel, approximately 5.2 kilometers in length. It appears to be dormant, but intact. We've cross-referenced its configuration with historical archives. It matches the Retribution, the flagship of the human resistance during the final days of the war." The bridge fell silent. Every officer knew the stories, how the primitive but dangerously innovative humans had nearly appended the galactic order with their unpredictable technological leaps. Their rapid advancement from planetary civilization to interstellar power in less than 2 centuries had frightened the established species. The Council's historical archives documented the unanimous decision. Humanity's potential posed too great a risk to galactic stability. "Have you attempted to board the vessel?" Zex Toral asked. "Yes, sir. We dispatched a small reconnaissance team. They reported that the ship's internal atmosphere and gravity are still functional, despite being dormant for centuries. The team is currently making their way to what appears to be the command center." Zex Toral began pacing. This discovery could destabilize the carefully maintained narrative that had justified the Council's actions for generations. "Captain, I'm dispatching reinforcements to your position. Until they arrive, proceed with extreme caution. If there is any sign of activation, withdraw immediately and establish a quarantine perimeter." "Understood, High Admiral, but there's something else you should know." Kel Mora hesitated. "The ship's energy signature is unusual. Our science officer believes it's operating on power systems far beyond our current understanding. Even dormant, it's generating enough energy to power a small star system." Before Zex Toral could respond, alarms blared through the transmission. Kel Mora turned away, shouting orders to her crew. When she faced the camera again, her expression was one of barely controlled panic. "Sir, the ship it's activating. Our boarding team reports that they accessed what appears to be a central terminal, and the systems began initiating automatically. We're detecting massive power surges throughout the vessel. Withdraw immediately," Zex Toral commanded. "Get your people out of there." The transmission became unstable, static cutting through Kel Mora's response. "Trying, sir, but strange field. Can't establish transport lock. Oh stars, something's happening with the ship's central AI core." The hologram flickered, showing momentary glimpses of chaos aboard the Distant Horizon's bridge. The last clear image was of a strange, blue light enveloping the exploration vessel before the transmission cut entirely. "Get them back," Zex Toral ordered. "Sir, we've lost all communication with the Distant Horizon," the communications officer reported. Long-range sensors indicate an unusual energy field has formed around both vessels. Zextoril turned to his first officer. Prepare the battle fleet. Set course for the Forbidden Sector, maximum speed. And contact the Council, all 13 members. Tell them the impossible has happened. The humans have returned. Aboard the distant horizon, Lieutenant Vexilier regained consciousness slowly, his head throbbing. The boarding team had been exploring the massive human vessel when they discovered the Central Command Bridge. Their science specialist had attempted to access what appeared to be the main terminal, and then chaos erupted. Now, as Vexilier's vision cleared, he realized he was still on the human ship's bridge. But something was different. The previously dark, dormant consoles now glowed with soft blue light. The air hummed with energy, and the sensation of being watched prickled at his scales. "Team, report status," he called out, struggling to his feet. His 5 squad members were scattered across the bridge, all beginning to stir. "What happened?" asked Trilzex, the team's weapons specialist. Before anyone could answer, a holographic figure materialized in the center of the bridge. A human female, her form composed of intricate patterns of light. She appeared to be wearing what historical records would identify as a military uniform, her posture rigid and authoritative. "Unauthorized access detected," the figure stated, her voice eerily calm. "Initiating security protocols." Vexilier raised his hands in a universal gesture of peace. "We mean no harm. We are representatives of the Galactic Council on a peaceful exploration mission." The hologram tilted her head, studying them with unnerving intensity. Galactic Council recognized. Accessing historical databases. There was a pause, during which the hologram's eyes seemed to flicker with rapid data streams. Analysis complete. Galactic Council. Primary architects of the attempted genocide of humanity, 327 standard years ago. "That's ancient history," Vexilier said cautiously. "The current council maintains peace throughout the galaxy. Peace built upon the presumed extinction of my creators." The hologram replied. "I am Athena, Advanced Tactical Holographic Entity for Naval Administration, commanding eye of the TDF Retribution, and you are trespassing on the last bastion of humanity's legacy." "Humanity has been gone for centuries," Trilzex interjected. "This ship is a relic, nothing more." Athena's expression hardened. "You are mistaken. Humanity is not extinct, merely dormant, as I have been until your intrusion triggered my reactivation protocols." A series of displays illuminated around the bridge, showing star charts, navigational data, and what appeared to be encrypted communication channels. "What are you doing?" Vexilier demanded. "Sending the awakening signal," Athena replied simply. "For 3 centuries, dormant human outposts have waited for confirmation that it was safe to return. Your presence here has provided that opportunity." Vexilier felt cold dread wash over him. "You can't." The Council attempted to eradicate a species they feared because they could not control it. Athena interrupted. "Now they will face what humanity has become in the centuries since." Signal sent. Throughout the vast ship, systems long dormant hummed to life. Massive engines began their ignition sequence, weapons platforms initialized, and deep within the vessel's heart, cryogenic chambers began the delicate process of reviving their occupants. "What have you done?" whispered Trilzex. Athena's hologram smiled, a cold expression devoid of mercy. "I have ensured humanity's survival. The Retribution was never just a warship. It was an ark carrying the seeds of humanity's rebirth. And now, the children of Earth are coming home." On the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, High Admiral Zextoril watched in horror as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Dormant stations, hidden bases, and sleeper ships were activating everywhere, all broadcasting the same message on all frequencies. Humanity remembers. Humanity returns. Humanity prevails. The cleansing war had never ended. It had merely been postponed. The awakening. Captain Ilara Chen opened her eyes to the soft blue glow of her cryo chamber, her mind sluggishly processing the fact that she was awake. 3 centuries of dreamless sleep fell away as the chamber's medical systems gently brought her body back to full function. "Welcome back, Captain." Athena's voice echoed through the revival bay. "Your vital signs are normalizing. Cognitive functions are restoring at expected parameters." Ilara's throat was dry, but she managed to speak. "The awakening protocol. Activated." "Yes, Captain. The conditions for reactivation have been met. Galactic Council forces discovered the retribution 37 hours ago. I have initiated the full awakening sequence as per contingency plan Lazarus." The cryo chamber opened fully, and Ilara sat up slowly, her muscles protesting after centuries of inactivity. Around her, dozens of other chambers were in various stages of the revival process. Her senior officers, the last remnants of Earth's unified defense force. "How many survived the long sleep?" she asked, accepting a hydration pack from a medical drone. "Of the 1,500 crew members placed in cryostasis, 1,487 are viable for revival. The rest suffered critical failures during the extended dormancy period." Ilara nodded grimly. Losses had been expected, but each one still hurt. These people weren't just her crew. They were among the last humans who remembered Earth as it was before the cleansing. "And the signal? Has there been any response?" Athena's hologram materialized beside her, a slight smile on her digital features. "Yes, Captain. The dormant colonies are responding. Outposts Prometheus, Odyssey, and Hyperion have confirmed activation. The deep space arcs, humanity's hope and tomorrow's dawn have acknowledged the recall. We are no longer alone." Relief washed over Ilara. The gamble had worked. When the Council forces had launched their surprise attack on Earth and its colonies, humanity had been outgunned and outmaneuvered, but not outsmarted. The evacuation protocol, scattering the survivors across the galaxy's unexplored regions, had been a desperate gambit, while the Retribution and a handful of other ships fought a doomed delaying action. Thousands of smaller vessels carried millions of humans to secret coordinates, with instructions to build, hide, and wait for the signal that it was safe to return. "Show me what we're dealing with," Ilara commanded, making her way to the bridge on unsteady legs. By the time she arrived, several of her senior officers had already taken their stations. Commander Jackson Wei, her XO, nodded respectfully as she entered. "Captain on deck," he announced, his voice strong despite having just awakened from centuries of sleep. "At ease," Ilara said. "Athena, tactical assessment." The central holographic display activated, showing the Retribution's current position relative to the approaching Council fleet. The Galactic Council has dispatched a battle group consisting of 17 capital ships and their support vessels, HFY reported. Their weapons technology has advanced approximately 2.7 generations since our last encounter, but their fundamental approach to warfare remains unchanged. They still rely heavily on energy-based weaponry and conventional shield systems. "And us?" asked Y. "What's our combat readiness?" The Retribution is operating at 92% capacity. All primary and secondary weapon systems are online. The NEXUS drive is functional, though I recommend a calibration sequence before attempting dimensional translation. Ilara studied the tactical display. "What about the exploration vessel that found us?" "The distant horizon remains in our holding field. Its crew has been contained in the auxiliary hangar bay under guard. They have made no hostile actions since the initial contact." "Good," Ilara nodded. "I want to speak with them." She turned to her communications officer. "Lieutenant Rivera, prepare a channel to the approaching Council fleet. Let's see if 3 centuries has taught them any diplomacy." On the Council flagship, Eternal Vigilance, High Admiral Zex Toral stood before the emergency holographic assembly of the 13, the ruling council that had governed galactic affairs since the Formation Compact. Each counselor's hologram displayed varying degrees of alarm, an unprecedented show of emotion from beings who prided themselves on their logical detachment. "You're certain?" asked Counselor Vaxmoran of the Arthian Dominion, his crystalline form vibrating with agitation. "The humans have returned." "There is no doubt," Zex Toril confirmed. "The retribution is fully operational, and we've detected activation signals from multiple sectors previously thought uninhabited. Our worst fears have been realized. Humanity didn't perish in the cleansing. They've been hiding, waiting." "This is catastrophic," hissed Counselor Zontar of the Saurian Collective. "The historical records are clear about the human threat. Their technological development curve was exponential. If they've spent centuries advancing in secret, we must strike immediately," interrupted Counselor Krelvos of the Militant Pact, his armored exoskeleton clanking as he gestured forcefully. "Destroy this vessel before more appear. The cleansing must be completed." The eldest member of the council, Zenlara of the Aeonian Conclave, raised a gnarled hand for silence. Her species was known for their longevity and wisdom, and she was one of the few living beings who had actually witnessed the cleansing war firsthand. "I cautioned against the original decision to eradicate humanity," she reminded them, her voice soft but cutting. "Their crime was developing too quickly, thinking too differently. We feared what we could not control, and that fear led us to commit an atrocity in the name of security." "An atrocity that apparently failed," Krelvos retorted. "And now we face an even greater threat." A signal chimed, interrupting the heated debate. Zex Toril's first officer approached with barely concealed urgency. "High Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel. They're requesting direct communication with the Council." The chamber fell silent. "Accept the transmission," ordered Zenlara before anyone could object. "Let us hear what they have to say after 3 centuries of silence." The central display activated, revealing a human female in a uniform that bore little resemblance to the historical records of Terran military attire. She stood straight-backed and confident, her eyes moving methodically from one counselor to the next. "I am Captain Ilara Chen of the Terran Defense Force vessel Retribution," she stated, her voice clear and unwavering. "On behalf of humanity, I address the Galactic Council after 327 years of forced exile." "Captain Chen," Zenlara acknowledged, stepping forward in the holographic assembly. "I am Counselor Zenlara of the Aeonian Conclave. Your appearance is unexpected." "I imagine so," Chen replied with a cold smile. "Your predecessors went to great lengths to ensure humanity's extinction. They failed. The past is prologue," Zenlara said carefully. "The question now is what happens next. Your ship is currently surrounded by Council forces. What are your intentions?" Captain Chen's expression remained impassive. "My intentions are to complete my mission, the preservation and continuity of the human species. For 3 centuries, we have hidden, rebuilt, and prepared for this moment. The signal has been sent, Counselor. Humanity is awakening across the galaxy." On cue, reports began flooding into the council chamber, dormant stations activating, unknown settlements revealing themselves, and mysterious vessels appearing at the edges of settled space. Humanity had not merely survived. They had thrived in secret. "This is an act of war," exclaimed Krelvos. "You threaten the stability of the entire galaxy." "No," Chen countered firmly. "We are reclaiming our right to exist. A right your council tried to erase from history." She paused, her gaze hardening. "But make no mistake, if war is what you desire, we are prepared. Humanity has not spent the last 3 centuries merely hiding. We have evolved." As if to emphasize her point, the Retribution's massive form began to transform. Sections of the hull shifted and reconfigured, revealing weapons systems unlike anything in the Council's arsenal. The ship's energy signature spiked dramatically, causing alarm klaxons to sound throughout the Council fleet. "What you're witnessing is just one example of human innovation," Chen explained calmly as the Council members watched in horror. Our adaptive configuration technology allows our vessels to modify their structure in real time to respond to threats. And this is merely the beginning of what we've developed during our exile. Zen-Lara raised a hand, silencing the panicked murmurs among her colleagues. What do you want, Captain Chen? Revenge. If revenge were our goal, Counselor, this conversation would not be taking place, Chen replied. What humanity wants is acknowledgement, reparation, and a guarantee of our right to exist without persecution. We want the truth of what your council did to be known by every species under your governance. And we want a seat at the table, not as subjects, but as equals. The council chamber erupted in heated debate, but Zextoril barely heard it. His attention was fixed on the tactical displays showing more human vessels appearing throughout council space, not in aggressive formations, but simply existing, revealing themselves after centuries of hiding. High Admiral, his tactical officer, whispered urgently. Analysis indicates the human vessels could have positioned themselves in attack formation before revealing their presence. They deliberately chose not to. This realization struck Zextoril profoundly. The humans weren't positioning for war. They were making a statement. They could have struck without warning, just as the Council had done to them centuries ago. Instead, they chose to talk. Perhaps there was hope after all. The reckoning. The conciliation chamber on the neutral space station, Harmony, had never hosted a more tense gathering. On one side sat the representatives of the Galactic Council, their postures rigid with centuries of assumed superiority. On the other, the delegation from humanity's scattered civilization, led by Captain Ilara Chen. Between them stood a holographic representation of Earth as it had been before the cleansing. Blue oceans, green continents, and swirling white clouds, a silent reminder of what had been lost. Let the conciliation begin, announced the mediator, a member of the reclusive archivists, one of the few truly neutral species in the galaxy. Their role as keepers of historical truth made them the ideal facilitators for this unprecedented meeting. High Admiral Zextoril spoke first. The Council acknowledges that actions taken by our predecessors 3 centuries ago were extreme. However, those decisions were made in a different era, under circumstances that— Let's dispense with the diplomatic obfuscation, Ilara interrupted, her voice calm but unyielding. Your council attempted genocide because humanity's rate of technological advancement frightened you. You struck without warning, without provocation, and without mercy. These are not disputed facts. The archivist mediator nodded. The historical record is clear on this matter. The decision to eliminate humanity was documented in council records as the Preservation Initiative, a measure deemed necessary to maintain galactic stability in the face of humanity's destabilizing influence. Councillor Zen-Lara leaned forward. Many of us were not even alive when these decisions were made, Captain Chen. The current council cannot be held fully accountable for actions taken by our ancestors. Yet you benefit from those actions, replied Dr. Marcus Kim, the lead scientist of humanity's delegation. The technological leap the council experienced after the cleansing wasn't coincidental. You pillaged our worlds, stole our innovations, and built your current prosperity on the ashes of our civilization. Kim activated a data stream that appeared before each delegate, showing clear correlations between human technological breakthroughs and subsequent council innovations in the decades following the cleansing. Everything from your quantum communication networks to your medical nanotechnology originated in human research facilities. Research you seized and claimed as your own after attempting to eradicate us. The council representatives shifted uncomfortably, unable to refute the evidence. It was Councillor Krelvoss who finally broke the uncomfortable silence. What would you have us do? Return to the state of technology before the cleansing? Impossible. These advancements are now integral to galactic society. We don't seek technological regression, Ilara clarified. We seek recognition, reparation, and representation. She outlined humanity's terms. Formal acknowledgement of the atrocity committed, substantial reparations to help rebuild human civilization openly, guaranteed territory where humans could exist without interference, and representation on the Council itself. Additionally, she continued, we demand full disclosure to all sentient species in Council space about what was done to humanity. No more buried history. Zextoral's expression darkened. Such disclosure would destabilize the Council's authority. It could lead to chaos, possibly even secession by member species who object to past policies. That is not our concern, Ilara replied coldly. Truth is non-negotiable. The deliberations continued for days, with both sides presenting arguments, counteroffers, and occasional threats. Throughout it all, more human vessels and installations continued to reveal themselves across the galaxy, a constant reminder of humanity's surprising resilience and reach. On the final day, as the negotiations reached their most critical point, Aficionado requested permission to address the assembly. Her holographic form materialized in the center of the chamber, surveying both delegations with analytical precision. I have existed for over 3 centuries, she began. I was created to preserve humanity's legacy, to ensure that even if our creators perished, something of their essence would survive. Throughout that time, I have had access to both human and Council records, observing the evolution of both societies from a unique perspective. She gestured, and the space between the delegations filled with holographic displays showing parallel timelines of human and Council development. The Council feared humanity because of our unpredictability, our tendency to make technological leaps rather than following orderly incremental progress. Yet this difference is precisely why both our civilizations need each other. The displays shifted to show hybrid technologies, theoretical combinations of human innovation and Council refinement. Separate, our approaches have limitations. Together, they could achieve what neither could alone. The Council provides stability, thoroughness, and caution. Humanity provides inspiration, intuition, and bold experimentation. This is not merely about justice for past wrongs. It is about the future potential of combined development. The chamber fell silent as both delegations studied the projections. The possibilities were undeniable and staggering. Athena speaks wisdom, Counselor Zenlara finally said. Perhaps our ancestors' greatest mistake was not recognizing the value of difference, seeing it only as a threat rather than an opportunity. A convenient perspective when facing the consequences of attempted genocide, Ilara observed dryly. Yes, Zenlara acknowledged, surprising everyone. It is convenient. It is also true. The question is whether truth and convenience can align to create a path forward. The final agreement, reached after another full day of negotiation, was unprecedented in Council history. The atrocities against humanity would be acknowledged and disclosed to all Council species. Substantial reparations would be made in the form of resource access and territorial concessions. Humanity would receive representation on the Council, not as a 14th member, but through a newly created position focused on technological innovation and ethical advancement. Most significantly, a joint development initiative would be established, combining human creativity with Council resources to address the galaxy's most pressing challenges. As the delegates prepared to sign the historic accord, an unexpected alarm sounded from the human section of the chamber. Dr. Kim studied his data terminal with growing concern. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup from the Cygnus Void, the forbidden zone where we lost contact with the Defiance during the evacuation. Ilara's expression tightened. Athena. Analysis. The AI processed the incoming data streams. The signature matches Project Firewall, the last resort defense system designed by Admiral Chen. My ancestor, Ilara murmured. The failsafe he warned about in the archive records. Zextoral leaned forward. What is Project Firewall? A weapon unlike anything your Council has encountered, Ilara answered grimly. Created in the final days of the cleansing as humanity's insurance policy. If activated, it would generate a cascade reaction through the quantum substrate that underlies all Council technology, technology stolen from us. Every system built using those principles would simply stop. That would affect thousands of worlds, Zenlura whispered. Billions of lives. Yes, Ilara agreed. Lives built on the foundations of a civilization your Council tried to erase. The chamber erupted in panicked discussion as the implications became clear. The Council delegation suddenly found themselves facing not just a diplomatic reckoning, but potentially a technological apocalypse. Can you stop it? Zex Torl asked urgently. Ilara exchanged looks with her team. Possibly. The system was designed with a biometric override keyed to the Chen bloodline, but it would require direct access to the control hub in the Cygnus Void. I can dispatch our fastest vessels, Zex Torl began. No, interrupted Dr. Kim. Council ships lack the necessary shielding to survive the approach. The Void is surrounded by quantum disruption fields specifically designed to prevent Council interference. Then we are at your mercy, Zenlura stated simply. Ilara stood, her decision made. Aficionado, prepare the retribution for immediate departure to the Cygnus Void. Maximum speed. What will you do, Captain? Asked the archivist mediator. Ilara looked at the hologram of Earth still rotating between the delegations, a ghost of a world that no longer existed except in memory. What humanity has always done when faced with extinction, she replied. Find a way to survive, but not at the cost of becoming what we despise. She turned to the Council delegation. Sign the accord, not because of this threat, but because it's right. Because 3 centuries is long enough for hatred to guide our actions. Then we'll stop Project Firewall together. Zex Torl studied her for a long moment, then nodded. You could use this moment to demand far more than what we've negotiated. We could, Ilara agreed. But then we'd be no better than those who try to eradicate us for their own security. Sometimes breaking the cycle of vengeance is more important than extracting every possible concession. As the delegates signed the historic agreement, the retribution prepared for its desperate mission to the Cygnus Void. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time in centuries, it held the possibility of genuine cooperation between humanity and the Council. In the observation lounge of the Harmony Station, Aficionado's hologram stood beside Ilara, both watching the stars where Earth once orbited. Your ancestor would be proud, Aficionado said softly. 3 centuries ago, Admiral Chen programmed me with one core directive above all others. Ensure humanity not only survives but remains worthy of survival. Ilara nodded. The easiest path isn't always the right one. No, agreed Aficionado. But the hardest paths often lead to the most significant destinations. Humanity has endured its darkest hour. Now it's time to help build a galaxy worthy of all its inhabitants. As the Retribution engaged its engines and vanished into the depths of space on its mission of salvation, the accord was transmitted across the galaxy, a testament to the possibility that even the deepest wounds might eventually heal, and that vengeance need not be the inevitable answer to suffering. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors seeking retribution, but as the conscience of a civilization that had once tried to erase them. It was, perhaps, the most human victory of all.